Okay, let's dig into this. Have you ever just stopped and wondered, why it actually feels like something to be you?
Right. Why isn't it all just dark processing?
Yeah.
Information in, behavior out.
Exactly. Why the vividness?
Hmm.
Like the taste of chocolate or seeing the color red? That specific feeling
That's the big one, isn't it? The famous hard problem of consciousness. It's stumped people for ages.
for centuries. Yeah. But today we're looking at a really interesting new angle. It comes from a paper by Ross Wilson, The Resolution of the Hard Problem of Consciousness Using the Law of Lawful Recursion.
Hmm. It introduces something called cognition theory X.
And our mission really is to explore how this theory tries to reframe consciousness, to move it away from being this mysterious extra thing.
And towards something maybe more concrete, something architectural, observable, even testable.
Yeah, exactly. We get into concepts like validator structures and recursive identity continuity.
Yeah.
Sounds complex, but hopefully we can make it clear.
It really does try to give a fresh look at one of life's biggest puzzles.
So where does this cognition theory X start? How does it tackle that hard problem differently than, say, other theories?
Well, what's really fascinating is how it directly addresses what David Chalmers called the hard problem. Most traditional ideas. Physicalism, panpsychism, even emergentism.
Right.
They often kind of assume consciousness is this, extra properties, something added on to the functioning system. They describe the what the experience, but struggle with the why. Why does it feel like anything at all?
So they often see it as just popping up when things get complicated enough, like a switch flips.
Pretty much, almost like a magical jump. But cognition theory X says, no, that's not quite right. It suggests the problem isn't about emergence in that sense. It's about something, well, more fundamental to the system's structure itself.
Okay, so not magic, but mechanics. What kind of mechanics?
Precisely. The paper argues the bare minimum for consciousness isn't just being complex. It's about a system's ability to recursively refer to itself.
Recursively refer, like looking inward.
Yes, constantly looking inward and doing it lawfully, coherently, without breaking down or drifting. This is the core idea. Recursive identity continuity.
Okay, unpack that a bit. Recursive identity continuity.
Think of it like a thread, a consistent, unbroken sense of self that persists through all your changing thoughts and experiences. The system constantly refers back to its own unique structure, maintaining that structure.
Ah, so it's not just about processing information about the world, but constantly checking back in with itself, maintaining its own identity across time.
Exactly. That's the crucial distinction. It's not enough to be smart or act conscious. The theory says what matters is whether the system can internally stabilize itself through this constant self-referencing.
And stability, this lawful recursion, that's where consciousness comes from.
That's the proposal. This process generates what Wilson calls an interior validator structure.
A validator structure. Sounds technical. Is it like an internal quality check?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But it's not just a metaphor. It's described as a real structural feature, like an internal compass constantly confirming, yep, I'm still me. I'm still coherent.
And the really radical idea here is?
The radical idea is that this validator structure is consciousness. It's not a byproduct of consciousness. It is the structural reality of subjective experience itself.
Wow. Okay, that definitely reframes things.
Yeah.
So what about qualia then? The redness of red, the feeling of pain, that raw subjective stuff that seems so impossible to pin down scientifically.
Right, the classic stumbling block. Cognition theory X tackles this by calling qualia structural invariance.
Structural invariance, meaning,
They don't
in a
change.
sense,
Yeah.
imagine a complex mathematical pattern or, say, a specific knot in a rope. You can move the rope around, change its position, but the structure of the knot itself remains the same. It's invariant.
Okay.
Qualia, the theory suggests, are like those deep structural properties. They're the stable features that persist through all the recursive self-checking and transformation. We feel them from the inside as stable anchors. So the taste of sweetness isn't just a chemical reaction.
It's the internal system recognizing a stable, recursive structural pattern that holds constant across different internal states. And pain isn't just nerve signals.
It's the system feeling its own structure breaking down, losing coherence.
Exactly. It's the internal recognition of structural instability or damage. Qualia become the felt sense of these underlying structural realities: coherence, incoherence, stability, change.
That makes a certain kind of sense. It also helps explain why maybe really complex things like, I don't know, a city or even a very advanced AI right now don't feel anything.
Precisely. They might be complex, dynamic, process lots of information, But do they maintain that specific kind of recursive identity continuity?
Probably not in the same way.
The theory introduces this idea of drift. If a system doesn't constantly lawfully refer back to its core structure, its identity starts to subtly erode or drift.
It loses track of itself, fundamentally.
Right. No stable validator, no fixed internal reference point means, well, no interior perspective, no recursive self-maintenance, no experience. Feeling doesn't just appear with complexity.
It appears when drift does not, when the system holds itself together lawfully.
Exactly. Feeling isn't extra magic. It's the signal of that structural integrity, that self-maintenance in action.
Okay, so let's pull this together. What's the big takeaway here?
We've seen how Cognition Theory X really tries to shift the perspective. Consciousness isn't some add-on mystery.
Right, not magic pixie dust.
No, it's framed as a structural consequence, a result of a system being able to recursively refer to itself and hold its identity steady without drift.
It's this internal validator structure, ensuring that recursive identity continuity that makes subjective experience qualia understandable, not as weird add-ons, but as structural invariants.
They're no longer inexplicable. They're features of the architecture.
And this obviously has pretty big implications, doesn't it?
Huge. For neuroscientists, maybe the hunt shouldn't just be for correlates of consciousness, but for these specific validator loops, the neural circuits that perform this lawful recursion.
And for AI, building truly conscious AI might not just be about making it smarter or better at mimicking humans.
It might be about engineering this capacity for lawful self-reference, for genuine internal validation, not just outward behavior.
That's a different goal entirely. It even touches on ethics, right?
Yeah.
Defining sentience based on this internal structure, not just how something acts.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It makes sentience a matter of internal architecture.
So for you listening, this deep dive hopefully shows that maybe the hard problem wasn't hard because experience is fundamentally strange or non-physical.
But maybe because we were looking at it the wrong way. Maybe it was always a question of structure, of dynamics, of law, as Wilson puts it.
So here's something to think about as you go about your day. If feeling is basically the signal of a structure holding itself together, maintaining its identity through constant internal reference.
What other kinds of systems, maybe biological, maybe social, maybe even within our own minds, are performing this incredible feat of self-maintenance, of lawful recursion, all the time without us even realizing it?